Welcome to the Yada House Podcast. Yada House is for... Yada House Podcast is... Hold on, let me try that again.
We create biblically sound and spirit-filled environments for just a creative space for people to flow freely and speak freely and be freely and enjoy freely and wisdom freely.
Wisdom freely.
Wisdom freely. That's the new tagline of Yada House. Yada House. Wisdom freely. Welcome to the Yada House Podcast. Yeah. Welcome to the Yada House Podcast. Yada House is a ministry where we create biblically sound and spirit-filled environments. This podcast particularly is meant to create a conversation space for topics on the platform, off the platform, and everything in between. I am Juan, joined here on the couch with...
Mel.
And...
Katie!
Unfortunately, Josh is out of commission. He decided he wanted to be with his family. Doing family stuff because he's a good dad or something.
Which, to be fair, this episode happened at, the last minute.
This episode did happen at the last minute because your boy forgot to turn on his microphone.
Yeah. Stop calling yourself out. I made it so that, it was just a technical error.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the technical error is me. Oh, and instead of my testimony being shared this time, because my friend Lacey debuted that, we will talk about areas that I did not cover on that podcast on this one. The next episode, because this one is going to be Katie's testimony!
Whoa! Thank you. Hi, I'm Katie. I will be sharing my testimony today.
Hey, girl.
Hi,
Katie.
Hi. Few things about me. I'm a worshiper at heart, as I feel like a lot of people would identify with. I was on the worship team at my old church for about, I think I was going on 9 or 10 years of serving there, which was amazing and just such a fruitful endeavor that God called me to. I'm very creative. I love to do cross stitch. I call myself a serial hobbyist. So I pick up literally any and every hobby that exists in the world. If it looks interesting, I will try my best at it. And if I don't, what?
Have you tried snowboarding?
I've never, actually technically yes. But it wasn't real snowboarding. It was a really flimsy snowboard. And I was a kid and I didn't wear the proper shoes. So then I almost got frostbite. And it was also on not a major hill. It was just me trying to experience life to the fullest as a child. And it was actually on the Freedom Hill, that park, Freedom Hill, that giant hill. I don't know if anyone else knows it, but it's a great sledding hill. And it was my second or third year here in Indiana when my dad... And that's why I almost got frostbite. My dad took me and he was like, well, you're old enough to take care of your own clothes. So, I wore tennis shoes in the snow. I love my dad. Yeah.
Shout out, Dad.
Shout out, Dad. So, anyway, good memories. I've tried, I'm doing quotations, tried snowboarding. But yeah. I'm a cozy girl. I love books. I'm also a nerd, so I play video games.
Nerd.
I am that kind of nerd, the one that you would make fun of.
Yeah!
Yeah, I have lots of hobbies and interests. And then my full-time job is a store manager of a bridal store called Sophia's Bridal and Tux. It is the most magical place I've ever worked in my entire life.
Boo.
It's amazing.
Why are you booing?
You wish you could work there. Yeah, so that job has been the best job of my entire life, and I love it dearly. And that's a big part of who I am is female empowerment. And I love helping Christian women walk out their true purpose as God has called them to as women. That is something that's super big on my heart, and I love it so much. I have so many girlfriends that I treasure and hold so dearly in my heart. which makes sense for my line of work as well. I love it. It's so fun being a girl. I like it. You wouldn't understand. Anyway.
I live and thrive off of Melanie's side eye stare.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Anyway, so that's a little bit about who I am. I am 27. That's another thing that No, I'm 26. What the heck?
You want to age yourself.
I don't know why I said 26.
I still continue to be the oldest person in all my friend groups now.
Yeah, I'm 26. And so my background is I grew up Christian in a strong Christian household with 2 Bible-believing parents who love God. My dad was a youth and children's pastor the majority of my life. I was born in Arkansas. We stayed there until I was about 8. I was 8 years old when we decided to move to Indiana because my dad got offered a ministry position here at another church for youth pastoring. And it was our friends who was the pastor of the church. And we came up here for just to check it out kind of situation. Like my parents didn't fully, I was a kid, so maybe they did till the family didn't pay attention. I don't know. But they came up here and then we went back down to Arkansas, and I distinctly remember the conversation when my parents said, God is calling us to Indiana, so we're going to do that. Hated it. I was very upset. Even I hadn't even really established myself, but I was so mad. And all my siblings, I have 3 older siblings, they're so much older than me, so they had every right to be more upset than me, but I was definitely so angry. I was the angriest, I think, out of the whole family. And so the reason I'm mentioning how angry I was is because that leads a very prominent part of my testimony. So we come to Indiana, my parents start out that job, and I am mad at God. I'm so upset. And I also I'm starting to become a very mean child at this point because, I just was so unhappy, and who else to blame than God? Because my parents loved me. They're amazing parents. So I wasn't going to be mad at them. I was going to be mad at God. And in Arkansas, I was baptized at a young age. I accepted Jesus in my heart. So I always knew God was real. There was never a doubt in my mind that he was real. So, again, I'm going to blame him for ripping my life apart at 8 years old.
Of course.
But, yeah, so that's when I feel like the truest experience with anger started really happening in my life. Also, another side note about my childhood is I was almost a compulsive liar. So that's also, I have a weird background. But yeah, so that's a little bit of my childhood. Fast forward to intermediate school, which is, I don't even remember what grades that is. What is that?
Middle school? So
it's not, it wasn't set, so 5th and 6th. 5th and 6th grade. We've been here for a little bit. Ministry does not pay a lot, as those who work in ministry know. So my family is, we're fine off, but we're not doing great. And I'm still so bitter towards God. And my heart is just kind of looking for an outlet of some kind for that anger. And I'm not finding it because I still wanted to be a good kid. For my parents, because again, love my parents, always good parents. And my siblings also were super great, and my siblings are all incredibly smart and good in school. That's another part of it. And it's I don't remember, we moved here and we lived in a 1-story house for a while, pretty crammed, it was very tiny. And then at some point we were able to move to a bigger home. I don't remember at what point this is, but in that house at about my preteen age, I was so fed up with God, and I could not stand like, even though I had been here for probably 3 years, so, like, I have some friends, even though I was a terror at school, I was so mean to these girls. Like, I was so mean to them. Literally, one of them asked me why I was mean. And I said, I don't know. I just am. And they try to be friends with me in spite of that. And I just kind of had it with God. And I was like, okay, fine. You know what? Because I still always believed in God, and because I believe in God, I believe in a devil, in Satan. I remember that night in my room saying, you know what, Satan? You can use me however you would like for your purpose, because I'm fed up. I would like to clarify, I never became possessed. I was never a Satanist. I just did not align with God. And I chose the only other path I knew, which was hatred. My whole world shifted even more dramatically than when we moved here to Indiana. So I became a much worse child in my home. I opened the door in that home for Satan to come in. There was something in that house. I'm not saying there was a demon, but there was definitely, like, I mean, I opened the door for Satan to do whatever he wanted in that home. In that home, my brother started to deal with depression. And I know some other things that I'm not at liberty to share, but, like, just some other things within my family that started happening that, and, like, I've moved past this part of my life, but it's because I opened the door to those things happening. And I grew up in a very healthy Christian home. So, like, my family always held on to the belief of God, and I was just, like, blatantly rejecting it at every single moment. Like, and, yeah. So, that all happened that night, and what really happened within me, besides, like, my family, is I started having some nightmares. Nothing too terrible, but definitely, like, I used to have nice, pretty dreams, and I would start having nightmares again. And then, because I also had some nightmares as a kid, but also who doesn't have nightmares as a child? Like, that just is part of growing.
Yeah.
So that was happening, and, like, little by little, the devil started to take all my emotions away. I started to feel less love and more hate. I started to feel less joy and more depression almost every single day. It was a very slow-moving process, but it eventually resulted in me never feeling anything but hate, like anger and hate, like putting those together, and depression and sadness. And I remember in that house, just lots of arguments with my parents. And yeah, it was just rough. Like, I was just a bad kid, and my family will attest to it too. And I own it, because I was, like, when I look back on my past, like, truly, I was a totally different person. I had no heart for, like, worship, really. I did like to sing, but it was singing. It wasn't worship.
Right.
And, like, and it's such an interesting thing, too, because my dad was a youth pastor and a children's pastor, and throughout this whole period of time when I decided to, like, give my life over to Satan. And, like, being an active member in church, like, one of those kids, but then, like, living a totally separate life when I was at school. Like, it was just, it wears on the soul, because you're not meant to live like that. So, yeah, and like I said, I just became a really terrible kid in my home. Grades were dropping. I had no passion or desire for school, which I never did, but I had less of a passion and desire for school. Again, friendships were terrible. I just really didn't have a lot in my life other than just, like, hating God. That was, like, the one thing I leaned on, which you're supposed to lean on God's love, not your hate for him. But, you know, I chose what I chose.
Yeah, you did.
So fast forward like those angsty years, and then we come to my high school. So freshman year, we actually move out of that house where I like let Satan into our lives, essentially, like mostly my life, but into my home. Instantly things are a lot better. I'm still not in love with God or anything like that, but there is something working, which is Jesus. But I didn't know that.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Holy Spirit. And we end up actually going to a new church at the same time we are moving into our new home. At this church, I find a youth group where my dad is not the pastor, which is also like very life-changing.
Right.
And my dad was a phenomenal, like, I don't want to ever brush over how amazing my parents are. My dad was a phenomenal youth leader, and I know that because of the teenagers' lives that were changed because of him. And same with my mom too, because she is a pastor's wife, and that is not an easy job to do.
Right.
Plus she raised 4 kids. And most of us turned out pretty good.
There you go.
So, yeah. But we go to our new church, and that was my home church for a very, very long time of my life. But not to jump too far ahead, freshman year, I'm starting to feel that change and the shift. I can tell automatically that things in my house are a lot better amongst my parents and stuff, and that could be also because they were not being leaders anymore. And of course, the devil attacks those who have great purpose, and especially pastors, because they are turning people away from Satan back to the Lord. So that was definitely, I think, part of it too, is my parents just being like, okay, it's time for us to like kind of retire that part of our lives and just go to church and like serve in a church, but not be like pastors. And I get plugged in with the youth there, and it was just great. Honestly, that youth, it was amazing. It was a great time. And then I'm just going to fast forward some of the background information. Still very hateful, terrible child. Oh, just to tell everyone how bad I was, there was times when my parents, we always did family dinner every single night. There were times the family would fight over who had to wake me up from my after-school nap to get me up for dinner. And there was multiple times they didn't, because they didn't feel like dealing with me. I was a bad kid. I was known for punching walls, things like that, like kicking them. I didn't care if it hurt me. I was going to make it known I was upset type of situation. I have really strong knees because I'm a very competitive person, but that anger also came out in video games. So I used to beat my 3DS over my knee. I would get bruises from it, and I would still do it. Also, I'd like to attest to Nintendo for making those 3DSs almost indestructible.
Good idea.
Because it took a long time for that fan to give out after many beatings. Nintendo, sponsor me. Give me the new Switch.
Nintendo sponsor us. Give us the new Switch.
Yeah. So that was just like a little testament of how terrible I was. Thank God I've changed. I was going down a very dark path with all of that anger, and it definitely would have resulted in me committing a crime or killing myself because of the depression. But what I felt more than anything in my entire life was anger. So, new church, things are changing, like, I'm feeling a pull towards God like I never had before. And we go to this youth retreat in my like sophomore to junior year. So like that summer in between sophomore going into junior year. And I don't know, it was really good. It was a really good youth retreat. It was called Shockwave. It was down in Florida. And, I mean, I had been surrounded by youth events my whole life again because of my parents, and even as a kid I would go with them because they're clean and safe. So I don't know, the Lord just really started stirring something in me when I was there. And again, I had always believed in God, I just chose to hate him. But my heart had just softened towards the Lord when I was there. I didn't completely recommit my life there, but I do remember the shift in my mindset of like, oh yeah, there is something more for me out there. And like at this point, I'm barely passing my grades. Like, it's a miracle I didn't get held back, honestly. So it's just interesting. My story is just weird. Like, looking back on it, like the weird miracles that were provided that I didn't realize were miracles at the time were like God being like, no, I'm still going to complete your story whether you believe it or not type of situation.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so happy. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
But yeah, so I go to that. My heart is softened, and I'm just looking at these students, specifically seeing them so sold out for the Lord, even though they have much worse home lives than I do, or they just have different struggles than I do. And I grew up in a very safe environment compared to a lot of people. And so I remember sitting down with my parents, and I had kept my testimony under wraps basically until about 3 years ago, like my full testimony, because there's a lot for me to like come to acceptance about it. And I remember at that time, after my heart had softened, I just felt like I needed to apologize. And I did, and I was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I love you guys, and my behavior still kind of stayed the same. But it was just like a softening of my heart.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What made your parents decide to move to a different house?
I don't really... Oh, actually, no, I do know. Sorry, my childhood, trying to remember it all. We were renting the home we were living in, where I was like, Satan, come. And they wanted...
Can we just take a pause at just how casually that went? You're like, oh, back in that old home. Satan, come. I was like, don't come, Satan. Don't come into this house. We rebuke that sentiment in this house, okay?
Yes. Well, no. The devil know he ain't got no dominion when I am near.
Period.
Anyway, so we were renting that home, and my parents were finally financially able to buy a house. And that was also another little like miracle, because the house that my parents are now living in, is a miracle that we got it, because my parents set a specific number of like, how buying a house is, like you have a number that you won't spend over. And the house that we got had actually been foreclosed upon, but it was it should have cost way more than it was, but my parents could buy that one, and it fit all of it, because my parents didn't necessarily rush us out of the home as long as we were doing what we needed to and pay rent. So like it housed every person that they needed to. Another part of my parents, like they always wanted to have an extra room in case someone needed a home. And so I actually grew up with having like one or two, like back in our old house in our rental home, we had a room open up because my brother went off to the Navy, and my brother Josh had a friend that needed out of a living environment because it was just not good for him. And so my parents was like, yeah, he can come. We have pretty cheap rent. So he stayed with us. And then we moved to our another house, and we actually had a spare room, and almost immediately we had someone who needed to take up that room. And she just recently got married, and she stayed with us that whole time because she also needed out of a situation and a huge life change where she got delivered out of being lesbian. And she was like, hey, I need a place to live because I'm living with my girlfriend, and it's not right. So yeah, and my parents just have always had that like open door policy. Anyone and everyone is welcome. So again, love my parents so much. And so that's why we moved. And softening apart, and then come junior into senior summer. So it's always over the summertime because I have more time to reflect. I am serving in the church that we are at because that's always been an active part of my life, is whatever church you're at, you serve because you serve the body the way that God would serve the body.
Right.
So doing that, I'm doing an internship, and I'm just always thinking about that youth conference. And at that youth conference, something that they said, and I felt it before they actually verbalized it, I felt like there was angels in the room, which is a crazy experience for someone who is letting Satan actively work in their life. And I felt like there was angels in the room, and then the preacher came on and said, "You guys feel that? There's angels around every single one of you, and they're watching over you." And he also, it wasn't like a threat, but also he was just being so real. He's like, "But make sure that you follow the covenant and you don't make them angry," like type of situation. Because God will never leave or forsake you, but you best believe he will get upset. Because he's a dad.
Right.
He's a dad.
You know, just want to add something that you're saying that's so fascinating. I think it was yesterday. I don't know. I sometimes have a lot of like weird biblical content that comes up on my For You page for YouTube. And they were talking about the hierarchy of angels. And one of the things that they were talking about were the common angels that you hear about in the Bible a lot, which those serve typically three roles: either a message, a mission, or judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what you're talking about, you know, with this preacher, you know, kind of giving that very real and very candid warning when it comes to angelic beings, is that they serve the role of just as much as bringing a message and bringing encouragement and empowerment. They can also bring the judgment and the wrath of God. You know, I mean, that's what happened essentially with Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't God that came down and struck. He brought angels to come down and do the business and do the deed. And so I just thought that was a cool tidbit that I had. And then so that was cool.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those moments. And I was interning at the church in this summer going into my senior year, not knowing if I was even going to graduate. I had skipped so much class. And another little miracle that God always provided, I had no interest in drugs or alcohol. I was friends with those people, but I had absolutely no interest in doing it myself. I thought that weed smelled terrible.
Right.
Also, why would I want to hallucinate anything in my entire life? Like, absolutely not. There's already so many horrors in this world.
That was a little miracle from God.
Yeah.
Because with like the dominion that you were just speaking of your life, with the added like hallucinations, like that was coverage. That was coverage.
Yeah,
from the Lord.
and I know for a fact, like, he really did provide me that, just keeping me almost hidden type of situation. Even though I had openly said, "Satan, come," but again, make it light, but it's not. It's a very serious topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just almost time and time again, just proving, like, I'm going to see you through this, whether you want me to or not. And that's kind of how my parents were too. Like, they really showed me the love of Jesus, because that I know for a fact they were praying for me. Like, I know, even whenever they probably wanted to shake me or beat me, and I did not grow up with like parents who beat, but I definitely know I deserved it. Honestly, it's a miracle. My siblings didn't beat me up more. So yeah, they really showed me like the true like parental love. And I was doing that internship. I always started off the morning at the church doing a Bible study. Or just like, when I say Bible study, it's like really just taking time to read the Bible and then pray. And it was 30 minutes. They always gave me 30 minutes to do it. And then I would start my day at the church. I was sitting in the sound booth doing my my devotion. I just changed the word again. And I, for some reason, just that memory popped back up about the angels. And I was like, dang, my angel gone. Like, I know it. Because I done did some messed up stuff. Just in terms of, like, cursing. And when I say, I did quotations for those who's listening. Cursing as in, like, hating people and like wishing ill upon people, things like that, just really hating myself. And I just thought about that moment, and I was like, man, there has to be more for me, right? And God just really met me in that moment. Do I remember what I was reading in my Bible? No, because I felt the Lord tell me to get on my face in that sound booth and just repent. And like, I grew up Assemblies of God, so like semi-charismatic. So I was taught all of those things of like the Holy Spirit. And so I obeyed, one of the very few times in my life that at that moment in time that I was like, I'm going to obey right now to do it. And in that quiet moment, there was no one else in the sanctuary because it's a sound booth in the sanctuary. I just sobbed, and I was like, Lord, I know there's more for me. Like, I know I don't want to kill myself. Like, I know I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be happy. Like, I want to be joyful. And that was really the main thing in my life. Like, I was tired of being angry. It's exhausting. And there's nothing for you out there if you're just living like that. And I felt no other emotions ever. Barely crying. Like, now when I get angry, I cry. But like, even when I was angry, it was never tears. It was just like a dull numbness in me. And I was like, I want to be joyful, God. And he, in that moment, if people had been around, I would have been like, she needs some medicine or something, like sedate that woman. But I just remember like smiling, and like tears are rolling down my face because God in that moment gave me joy back.
Wow.
Yeah, gives me shivers. And from that moment on, I recommitted my life. So I did like those steps that you would say to a new believer of like, do you believe in the Lord? Do you want him Lord of your life? Things like that. And I was like, I commit myself to you. I will obey you. And he gave me joy back. And it was it wasn't like an instant, like, oh, my life is fixed. Mm-hmm. No, it was a very slow transition for me. Mm-hmm. That year was very hard. It was so worth it because I was undoing a lot of things that I had done to myself. And not experiencing emotions for a long time, then going back to experiencing emotions is hard. It is very hard, and and even to this day, I still feel sometimes like that, like resurfacing in me of like, if I'm feeling something and I can't identify it, I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm upset, like almost instantly because I can't figure out what it is. And that's the beauty of it too, is like, I'm still learning. And I don't know when or if that will ever change because I lived my life so long as a growing person, It wasn't just like as an adult I lost my emotions, it was as a kid I lost my emotions. Yeah. So like finding out those things is still really upsetting, but it's really great to experience them in like a new way. But yeah, and so God just really started working on me, and one of the things for that year, because I was going into my senior year, again, not knowing if I was going to graduate, I had told myself I'm going to do whatever it takes to graduate. I'm going to do it this year. Also, side note, because my mom definitely said if I don't graduate, she said, I don't care if you're 24, you are going to high school and you're graduating. Shout out, Mom.
Shout out, Mom.
So,
Shout out, Mom.
Yeah, and like also part of like when I was in high school, my parents didn't even know what to do with me for grades. I remember specifically, my dad looked at my report card online and he looked at me and he said, I don't know what to do, like how to punish you anymore, because nothing works. Because I didn't hang out with friends. I showed no emotion whenever I was punished. And he didn't want to seclude me to my room because I would just sleep. So he literally was like, I don't know what to do. And I just looked at him and said, I don't know either. Because I didn't know. I did end up graduating high school. One of my really big motivators too is my brother was stationed in Italy at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had texted him the day I decided I was going to graduate. I said, hey, if I graduate, because this is how big of an if it was for me. I said, if I graduate, in my message to my brother, will you take me to Europe? And he said, yeah, if you graduate, I will take you wherever you want in Europe. Shout out Doug. And he did take me to Europe because I did graduate.
Woo!
Again, it was by the grace of God. And I specifically remember one of my teachers, it was pre-cal. It was the hardest class I've ever taken in my whole life. Never again. But the pre-cal teacher saw the shift in me. Like, because, again, it was a slow transition. So even at the beginning of school, it was like I was just trying, but it wasn't like, wow, I'm going to do it. It was just like a kind of situation, but somewhere in the midst of that, like, second, I don't know. Anyway, all of this to state is the pre-cal teacher just saw that I was trying to graduate, and literally on finals day, he was like a traditional guy, and so he was going around shaking all of our hands and saying, like, good luck, like, I wish you the best in your college endeavors and whatever you're doing in life. And he got to me, and he shook my hand, and he like said it in like almost a whisper, but not like super whisper, and he just goes, I've seen how hard you've worked, and as long as you don't get a 0 on my test on this final, I will pass you so you can graduate. And I literally said, really? And he goes, yeah, just don't get a 0. And I said, I can get one question right. So
crazy.
I got one. I don't remember what my score was because it didn't matter as long as I got one right. And I passed his class, again, by the grace of God. And this was a really hard teacher, too. Like, so many students did not like him. He actually ended up leaving the high school because also that was definitely not his chosen, like, he wanted to be a professor. Yeah. So, like, that's the level of intensity he gave us, was, like, professor in college style. He was a great teacher. Yeah. He was just really hard. Yeah. So the fact that he did that was like a, thanks, Jesus. But yeah, and ever since that moment, the only thing I ever wanted people to see in me was, of course, Jesus, but joy. Like, that's the word that, like, I've always just been like, that's my word, is joy, because that's the first thing God ever gave back to me. Yeah, and like, my home life, of course, changed drastically. I, again, started showing more love towards my family because I knew how to feel that again. Yeah. And, like, it's really funny, too, because, like, thinking back on it, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I'm 26. I haven't been graduated, like, 2017 is when I graduated. It hasn't even been 10 years since I was in high school. So, like, anytime my family, like, thinks back on who I used to be, because, of course, like, I was that person for so long, and you're not just going to forget that.
Right.
They're just like, wow, you're, like, so different. And I was talking to my mom about it one time. She's like, you're just, like, we really actually reflected, not as, like, a joke, but, like, really reflected on it. She goes, like, look at what the Lord can and has done.
Yeah.
Like, it is insane. I don't know where I was going in my life, but it was not good before God. And like I said, God was present in every single moment that I was rejecting him. And I had rejected him over and over and over. But he said, I have good plans for you, and you're going to prosper. And not even Satan or you can mess up my plans. So, and he got me back.
There you go. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, there's no striving for God's love. He offers it freely. And through that walk, he has just been so gracious every single step. And, like, my relationship with Jesus is just, it's so beautiful. I have arguments with him, like, I'm a married couple. Because, again, I do have the past in me of, like, the anger. But the first thing I always do is surrender it to God, whether that's yelling in my car or some other situation. But he's really delivered me. He's delivered my family through a lot of hard times too, and like now that I'm an adult, I know a lot more about some things that were going on, like spiritual warfare things that were going on that I didn't even know about, and it all kind of like makes sense why it's all tied together. About, I think it was 3, that's so crazy. 3 years ago is when I really like came clean about my testimony with my pastor at the time. And a situation happened to where I felt I needed to explain some things. And before I told him, though, I was like, oh, I gotta tell my parents. Like, I gotta tell my parents about this situation. And I did. I like came clean about 3 years ago with my full testimony to my parents, which was a huge like thing to like really have to come to terms with, because again, I opened the door to a lot of stuff, and just like admitting it, and my parents showed no resentment or hate in that. They were just like, I'm so sorry that you experienced that by yourself. Like, that really sucks. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, how as loving parents would, is like, I wish you had come to me or like gone to someone, but they just really accepted me with open arms about that testimony. And there's been some other things too, because that many years of surrender to the wrong thing, to Satan, there's still things in my life that I'm like, oh, I thought I had dealt with that. And then it's like, oh, just kidding. And there was one specific time I felt the Lord tell me like, hey, I know you're not dealing with this anymore, but it's time to come clean to someone important in your life. And I was like, okay, well, who could it be? Like, I'm fine with telling any of my friends about some hidden part. And he goes, I want you to tell your mom. And I said, what? I don't want to do that. And he was like, you need to. So I told my mom, and again, it was just the same response of like, I'm so sorry you dealt with that, but thank you for telling me, and like, I love you, and who you are in my eyes doesn't change. Yeah, again, my parents, my family, truly a safe place, and God has touched every single one of our lives in a different way. And I'm so grateful that I'm still here today to deliver the message of my testimony, and what he's done for me, through me, and I know that he's going to do for other people. So, yeah. Big G. Anyway, I don't got any more. So, that's it for me.
Dang.
That's all, folks.
There's never an unawkward way to end the testimony.
No, there's not. That's why I said Big G, because it felt right.
I finished my testimony and I looked over at Josh, and Josh is like,
So funny.
Oh.
So
but
funny.
you just have to move on.
I mean, I knew some of this stuff. We've talked about like pieces of your testimony, you know, over the many coffee meetings that we've had, and you know, and I think I said this to you before, but knowing the person you are now, and hearing, because I have never experienced that Katie before, hearing about that person and seeing the person that you are now, if the extremes that you're talking about are as extreme, truly God is real. You know, truly the God that we serve is a true God, because there's not a single shred of that, at least from how I see it. There's not a single shred of that person, of that character. You know, even when, and I hope this isn't too much what I'm going to talk about, and we can timestamp this if so. But even the moments where, you know, you talk to me about like some hard stuff you walk through currently and it's life, you still show so much grace and so much of just a amazing example of a godly woman and how to approach even the negative stuff, that it shows just how much the Lord has like changed you. And I'm blessed to know you. I'm blessed to have you in my life. You know, you're an amazing woman of God. You're an amazing friend. I'm blessed that I get to do life and ministry with you. And I don't know if you share the same sentence and want to say stuff. I don't know.
Sure.
No.
What other could you say than yes to that?
Plot twist. Melanie hates her.
Yeah, I mean, I've only known you not long. So say, like, I've never known, like, that side of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing, like, through your whole testimony was just feeling the radiation of, like, God's love off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a testament to how much you have been willing to submit to the Lord, and I think He finds great pleasure in you.
Mm.
And I think you're awesome. And
Thanks.
I mean, wow, I'm just like warrior. That's just all I'm hearing, and I'm also hearing like Elohim, just the whole time, like during your testimony, because every single time God was doing something, and that's just so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I would also like to state part of it is, like, prayer works. Like, my parents never told me they were praying for me by any means, but, like, I know for a fact they were praying for me, as they did for all of my siblings. Like, I know they prayed for my siblings, so there's not a doubt in my mind that they prayed for me. So, yeah, prayer works. It always does.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Speaking of prayer, you should pray for the upcoming Yada House Maranatha Worship Night.
Yes. It's true. Prayer works.
Prayer works.
Prayer works.
And sincerely, pray for the Yada House team worshiping this night, because it's a very big deal to bring in the new year with worship. And it's not a secret that the Lord is starting to do something. Pray for the people who are serving this night. Pray that God's will be done. Like, it is, I just feel that so strong. And I mean, Katie is a testimony to prayer works.
It's true. Also, cover the house that we are going into in prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Pray for everything.
Pray for everything, guys.
But yeah, for Maranatha night, pray for the church house we're going into, the team, not just the Yada House team, but the team that we're collaborating with, because we're the worship and there's so much behind the scenes happening.
Yeah.
And then pray for Yada House's new endeavor that we're going to be doing.
Yeah. We've been campaigning this for a little bit as of late, but starting in January, we're going to be doing gatherings here in this house in the last Friday of every month. So if you want to experience what the Lord is doing in a more intimate capacity, in a home environment, amongst a bunch of other amazing, crazy people for Jesus, come, pull through. And we want to have you here. We want to celebrate with you. We want to...
Whip.
That shows my age. But yeah, come through. We would love to have you here. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everyone that does come to these nights that the more people, the merrier, and the more awesome it's going to be, and the more you'll encounter Jesus. Not because of the room itself, but because we all love God and we want to see God move, and we want to see you here to see God move. So,
Where two or more are gathered.
Mm-hmm.
Be part of the more.
Yada House, be part of the more. God.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That happened.
That shows my age.
I thought it was the gray hairs on Juan's head that showed the age.
Yeah, they're really starting to pull up now. Starting on my beard, and now they're pulling up. So that's why I trimmed my beard, because it's starting to grow a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I want to look 28, not 38.
Just dye it white.
Just dye it white?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Hey.
El Santa.
Well, instead, it's because of the old age.
Let's dye his hair.
How about no? How about don't do that?
You took dying too seriously.
Because I fear you will actually do that as a prank on me. Like,
That's my final prank.
like you'll get like the temporary like white dye or
Yeah.
something, like the paint or whatever.
Why are you giving her an exact detailed way to prank you?
Don't do that.
It's already happening.
Hey, don't do that. Hey, Melanie, don't do that.
Elohim, God who goes before me. Prince. No.
What?
You pulled up your mic. I was having a solo moment.
Yeah.
It was so pretty.
Yeah.
You did so good. Oh, there's more. Keep going, sweetie.
Ghost.
Aww.
There's no end to who you are. There's no limit to
You know, my favorite part of your solo is I can barely distinct when you're changing words. Because it is.
Hey, Melanie, has anyone ever told you that you should sing?
No.
Good. They're doing something right. No, just kidding, guys. Melanie's a fantastic singer. That's actually going to be one of the songs she's singing for Maranatha Night. So pull up the Maranatha Night.
Repeat.
That's exactly how she's going to sound, guys. Thank you so much for listening in and tuning in. Be sure to come to the Yada House things we're going to have every last Friday of the month. Come to Maranatha Night. Pull up. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. Support us through Patreon. Support us by liking all the posts that we have on all of our social media platforms. Thank you guys so much for listening in. Love you guys. Have a good day, night, week, month, year, and a great life.